Invoices, taxes, fiat, and Bitcoin. We will make it as engaging as possible. I know it can be a bit dry, but please bear with us. There's a lot of juicy meat on the bone to discuss. And of course, none of this is legal, tax, financial advice. Do not take it as such. This is just personal anecdote and strategic and practical points of view. So first and foremost, introductions. John, I will go to you and then we'll continue.
Thanks, Nadia. My name is John Magill. I'm the founder and CEO of Zaprite. It's a Bitcoin payments platform. It allows you to do invoicing, payment links, hosted checkouts, everything with a strong focus on self-custody. Connect your own wallets, your own Lightning node, everything, and have payments routed directly into you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And Kukks.
Yeah, so I'm Andrew, known by Kukks. I'm an open source contributor to BTC Pay Server. I've been doing it for 5-6 years now, and BTC Pay Server is basically an open source self-hosted Bitcoin payment processor. Everything is completely free, and it uses Lightning, Bitcoin on-chain, everything basically.
And thank you very much. And to myself, I'm Nadia. I'm a lawyer by background, worked in financial processing services at some point in time, long time ago, and most recently been experimenting with peer-to-peer applications, invoice processing on Nostr and Holepunch. This is why I think I got the honor of leading this panel, and let's dig in. So my first question to you would be, why do you think it's so important and crucial to integrate Bitcoin as a means of payments in businesses worldwide? Why is it a topic of focus for us right here, right now?
Well, I mean, I think obviously there's the number go up value, which draws everybody in the first part. But I think more importantly is the regulation side of it. We're just seeing a lot of the traditional fiat platforms getting squeezed with regulation, like money transmitter licenses, travel rules, all of this kind of stuff, where it's just restricting the flow of money, how businesses can earn money, on what channels they can earn it through. So having businesses have the ability to earn that Bitcoin directly is crucial. They need to be able to get that Bitcoin onto their treasury, onto their balance sheet in the most direct form as possible, and earning it is the best way to do that. Even just from the standalone payments aspect of it, it's crucial, but also then you look at it from the treasury point of view of like, well, your business is going to perform better if you have Bitcoin on your treasury. So the goal is to get the Bitcoin on the treasury, and the best way to do that is to actually earn it for the products and services that you're providing, rather than having to like continually earn in fiat, have those streams getting choked out, and then having to take what you have left and go to an exchange and buy it and bring it in. So it's really crucial that people actually start to understand that the best way to get it is to earn it and get it onto your balance sheet.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And it's also like from the freedom aspect, right? It's like you can always integrate fiat if you're in a normal functioning society where everybody is used to it. You can add Stripe or any of these normal payment processors if you're just running a normal business, but high-risk industries, they always get canceled out. They always get excluded from every kind of payment platform at this point. That's where Bitcoin comes in. It's freedom tech. You can do everything you want with it. You don't need to ask for permission. And that's what I see, at least. The earning Bitcoin is a great way to accumulate it for your own personal reasons. Like, you don't have to be like, sometimes you just don't have any option to accept Bitcoin, to accept fiat, and Bitcoin is basically the only thing left for you.
And let me ask you this: you've been in the industry for a while. When did you started taking Bitcoin as a means of payment and sending invoices to your employers, within your business yourself? How was that journey for you?
For me, I started the first need I had for something like this was back in 2019, when I started working. I was living in Canada at the time, and I started working as a freelance UI UX designer / developer. And I started working for Bull Bitcoin, Canadian Bitcoin exchange, doing UI UX, and they were paying me in Bitcoin. And so I needed a way to send a proper invoice because they're a business. They wanted to write off their expenses. They needed an invoice. And I actually started using BTC Pay Server, amazing product. I was running a Casa node at the time and setting that up. But even for somebody like me, like I kind of like struggled with the technical aspects of it and exposing URLs and things like that. But phenomenal product and like got me off the ground and got me exactly what I needed. But I always had this idea of, okay, I need to build something that like maybe abstracts away the server and kind of makes some of the parts like a little bit easier. But being like, you know, a Bitcoiner focused on self-custody, that was really the core focus. And so for me, being a freelancer and earning Bitcoin was the key critical step for me to realize like, okay, well, there's going to be a lot more people in future that need this and need these tools. And we need to just provide as many of them as we can to suit all the different needs, right? There's, you know, we would love everybody to be running BTC Pay Server. It means self-sovereign and running their own tech stack. For some people, it's just unfortunately not an option. But if we can push as many people towards that direction as possible, or at least get them a self-custody situation where we can then like they can bolt on Zapwrite tools on top of their wallet and stuff like that as well. So a lot of these tools are just crucial. But from my perspective, that's where it came from, was the need that I had to earn Bitcoin and to have the tools that allowed that to be simple as possible.
Yeah, I mean, from my end, I've been doing consultancy work for a long time, so it's just natural to ask to send an invoice for payment, and then just doing it with Bitcoin is just an extra option on top. You could send an invoice with a bank detail transfer, you know, so you can get a wire transfer, but you can always add a Bitcoin address to it. And then with the Bitcoin stuff, you have to add a bit more extra details. So, for example, amounts, which address you want to send to, and then you have to track the rates and all these things. And that's where you have to develop extra tooling on the side just to make sure everyone can keep the whole history and be able to prove your accountant that you're not, you know, losing money, or that you're actually getting everything that you're requesting and all that stuff. That's where BTC Pay Server comes in.
Okay, amazing. So the building and the desire to build came from personal experiences and seeing that need. And how have you seen the proliferation of tools and businesses, just traditional businesses outside, just look at Madeira? How have you experienced that from your perspective? Is it getting more popular? Businesses getting more curious? What do you see? What has been the trend?
I think it's getting better now, because adding Bitcoin to your invoicing is a lot simpler now. Like it used to be quite a nightmare to get Bitcoin set up. Like setting up BTC Pay Server 5 years ago was not easy. Like it took forever to figure out what commands you have to run and all the complexity of stuff and getting sure your wallet is set up right. And nowadays it's just like you can get a BTC Pay Server set up in like 10 minutes. And I think that kind of complements everything else. Like if it takes only 5 minutes to get set up, that's not really a big problem for businesses to start accepting it as an extra incentive for customers to use you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The tools are getting so much easier. You know, even in terms of, you know, maybe you don't want to run your own node with BTC Pay Server. Maybe you can spin up a voltage node and you can have BTC Pay Server running on that. Or I think there's a new tool I just read about, like Hack Zero now, that there's a box you can have. And like all of these things that come out that make it so much easier to run these self-sovereign tools. But we're seeing particularly within Zapwrite, we're seeing like a wide variety of people looking to earn Bitcoin. We've got, you know, dentists and doctors and lawyers and like obviously everything along the freelance spectrum, photographers, graphic designers, everybody. There's really kind of no set industry that is like more focused than the other. It's just individuals running businesses that come to that conclusion. I need to get Bitcoin on my balance sheet. I understand that the best way to do that is through payments, getting paid for the services. And that's the way they then go and look for it and look for the tools and channels. And as Kukks says, like those channels are just getting so much broader and better. And the UI, UX and everything is there. There's just so many options right now. It's a hell of a lot easier than it was 5 years ago.
It's also cheaper, right, to just accept Bitcoin. Instead of buying it from an exchange every single time and paying the spreads, you just accept it and it's like
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that we really focus on in the sales pitches as well, is that when you obviously if you have, I mean, we allow customers to connect like Square or Stripe or anything if they want to have like fiat payments side by side, but we obviously like, you know, incentivize them to take Bitcoin. We have options where you can put a premium on the fiat payment, so you can incentivize the Bitcoin side. But if you're, what we do as well, because we're non-custodial, we prefer self-custody. We have 0% transaction fees, just same as BTC Pay Server. Like the money is going directly into your wallet, so we just charge a monthly subscription for people to look at our fee or use our app. But what that means then is that money is coming directly into you with 0% transaction fees, and so you don't have those exchange fees, you don't have those 2.9% credit card fees. It just comes straight in. And obviously, you know, if you're a business who can manage to like work with the volatility of Bitcoin, you can actually just make that work for you over the longer term, and your balance sheet will get healthier, your business will get healthier. Like if you're running a business and your margin is like 10 or 15% and you're paying 3 to 4% on fees, that's a huge cut. That's a huge cut.
if not more.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is like 3-4% is some of the cheapest fees that you'll see out there. So what I hear is it's getting much more popular for the people to accumulate Bitcoin on the balance sheets when they're driving a business. The tooling is getting much easier, and generally speaking, these two factors create a proliferation and, of course, amazing flows for your businesses and the offering that you have. But what about obstacles that some of these users and people that come to you, what do they say to you? What are the fears? What are the challenges still at this day today?
Yeah, well, I mean, two of the biggest challenges I would say have been, you know, those two really exciting words, taxes and accounting. People, when you're a business and you want to take Bitcoin, you want to think, okay, well, I need to know everything, as Kukks touched on it before. I need to know the cost basis of this Bitcoin. I need to know if my company is performing well on a Bitcoin standard. It's all well and good bringing that Bitcoin in, but if you're underperforming, you need to know that. And so having the tools that allow for a simpler management of that, because, you know, we are still in this like half fiat situation before we get to like a Bitcoin world. So you need to know if your Bitcoin or your business is actually performing well on Bitcoin. So that's one of the key critical tools, is having that software there that can tell you, you took in X amount of Bitcoin, this was the cost basis for the Bitcoin, you know. And then the other side of it as well, like is the taxes side of it. So as long as we have all of the accounting information, you can do what you want with that later. The beautiful thing about earning Bitcoin is you don't have to tell the government you've earned Bitcoin. You just, if you are doing your taxes at the end of the year, you say, yeah, I earned like, you know, X amount of dollars, that's it. They don't know you have Bitcoin. And until you sell it, like that's, now the tools, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do something, but the regulations obviously are just going to keep getting tighter and tighter. And there are regulations coming in that have been proposed where you have to tell them when you earn X amount, even if it is in Bitcoin and things like that. But, you know, we may as well take advantage of a lot of this stuff until such time as we're told not to. And then
the financial advice given here.
No tax or financial advice given. But, you know, use the tools. The tools are there, and there's a lot of things that you can do well within, you know, the legal parameters, and you should do those so to make sure that you're running the healthiest business that you can.
Kukks, your experience with clients coming to you, and what are the difficulties? What are the problems?
Yeah, they come to me and like, can you explain this to my accountant? I'm like, no, I'm not an accountant. So you can export a report and then you can give it to your accountant, but then they go to their accountant and they're like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what Bitcoin is. I don't know how to deal with this rate thing. It's like, are you a money launderer? Like, that's like a whole thing. Accountants in Europe are not very Bitcoin savvy, at least for the most part.
So it sounds like an educational arm to both of your businesses would be needed, looking at accountancy and invoices.
I guess it's kind of like I don't want to be teaching people how to do their accounting. It's mostly because it kind of changes between countries as well and jurisdictions. So we could potentially build like simplified tax reporting tools directly in the product. But then you'd have to do one for every country, and like, I don't know how I would get all that data to actually keep it up to date. And then people will come to me later on saying, oh, it changed last year. Now I got all my taxes wrong, and it's all because of you. Are you going to pay my taxes then? And I'm like, no. So it's something that we have to be careful about shipping just to avoid liability.
Yeah, it's that's a critical point, is that because we looked into that very early on in Zaprite's phase. It was like to try and replicate a QuickBooks type environment where you're doing all the accounting and everything. It's really, really difficult to build an accounting system. Really, really difficult. And when you're trying to do it multi-jurisdictional, it's like even harder. Like one of the things that we ran into, in fact, is like even just producing a very simple invoice. The amount of rules and regulations, the variance in those across countries is like crazy. Like some countries, there's very specific information that legally has to be on an invoice or you can't send it. There's other countries, in Portugal and Madeira, for example, where you have to be a licensed software provider to be able to provide an invoicing service. So, and you have to apply to the government. So we would have to apply to the government to get a regulatory license to actually allow people to send invoices through Zaprite. So there's a lot of different regulations even on that side of it. So trying to get into the accounting side of it is a whole other mess that is best served by just saying like, look, here's all your data. You can take it, download it, give it to your accountant, and then, you know, they'll know what to do. But we're not gonna try and tell you how to work with all of that because it's too messy.
Okay, it sounds like to be clear, like the invoices in BTC Pay, they're kind of a lot more short-term made. They're more like payment requests.
Yes, yeah. I think that's funny. That's one of the things that we obviously like looking at BTC Pay Server when we're doing product research and stuff. We're like, okay, they're calling them invoices, but our invoices is more like billing. But like, okay, it's invoices now because we got to call something else. So, but yeah, I get that.
And then we have the more like invoices. What we have is called payment requests. They're more long-lived, so we kind of flipped it around.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's just unfortunate naming over the years.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the desire from businesses and people to accumulate Bitcoin for the services is there. The tooling is there. The accountancy is a tricky part. And accountancy is a profession that existed for many, many years, and they are struggling. So sounds like we need a BTC accountancy school out there, a free service to proliferate BTC in business operations. On this note, thank you very much. We're wrapping up. Guys, 30 seconds. What do you think is still needed for proliferation of BTC in business operations?
Legal clarity for normie businesses.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's huge. Trying to just business owners have so many questions when it comes to Bitcoin, and we try and provide as many as we can. But obviously, we're not legal experts. So if we had that legal clarity coming in, it would make it much easier because the tools are there. We just need to persuade the businesses that they can actually do this, and it's a very simple process.
Education and collaboration with established professions. Thank you very much, guys, and thank you very much, everyone. Listen.
Thank you.
Thank you.